drinking. And I'm kind of going towards the white tea. Well, actually, maybe something from the new sampler. I have a lot of teas in this sampler. Maybe that's a good idea. So I have eight teas in the sampler. I guess you guys will help me pick. I have 8 different teas that we could pick. I'm gonna narrow them down to 2 just so that we don't have a bajillion choices. But in the new sampler, guys, if you don't know, we have an 8 tea sampler that's available now. Look how cool that is. Different teas, 8 different teas, 8 different choices, and it comes with 8 different tea cards as well. So all the different cards have their own, like, you know, steeping instruction and stuff like that on them. So very, very cool. These, I thought I'd be doing a big sale during the holidays, but we've sold out already, unfortunately. We're getting more of these in January, but we might actually have some people who are watching that have gotten the tea samples there. Question from Yugoslav Bro, are we gonna, how long until the milk oolong is back? We're restocking it. I think they're coming in like a week or so. I don't think I can guarantee it before Christmas, but we will have them back. Rose says, do you ship to Germany? I do. We can ship anywhere. Just make sure if you're outside the USA, you use a credit or debit card because PayPal won't work. But how cool is that? Drew just got the box in today. Came in great. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for everybody for your support. I think I would rather, I'd like to have today either the orange peel white tea or the roasted oolong. We're gonna give a choice of everybody. So give me, let me know of these 2 teas. Tea number 1, put a 1 in the chat if you wanna see me drink the orange peel white tea mini brick, and put a 2 if you wanna see the roasted Iron Goddess Oolong. 1 for the orange peel mandarin white tea, 2 for the oolong. And we're going to be making a decision. People are like, what tea you were drinking? Oh, very, very cool. Awesome. Chinese New Year tea pet reveal when. I'm gonna be, we're gonna do some more stuff. 111 222 222 12 222 1112 2221. I feel like the roasted oolong has carried the day, so we're gonna go with that. Also, I get to show off our new mini bags, which are in the new sampler now. I'm like super proud of these because back in the original day when we put together the first sampler with 4 teas, we basically had to pick stuff that was either like prepackaged ball, prepackaged packet, because we couldn't get the tea suppliers to pack it in these mini bags because they had minimum orders and we were not anywhere near big enough. And now we finally got big enough to the point where I could convince them to, like, please, I want to send people loose leaf, but it's got to be in a package. So, you know, put them in those little bags. And I'll show you the little bag that we designed. It's hopefully pretty basic design, but this is the Jesse's Tea House like new tea packet. And it's got, you know, our little tea kettle logo on there, you can see. And then also we have the this thing on the bottom there. That's actually our seal, our jade seal that has been put into the packaging. How cool is that? Question over here from Mr. Little Serb. Hey, where does the tea sampler ship from? I'm just worried about shipping time. Everything ships from my warehouse in New Jersey, so inside the USA. Within the USA, we get it into the mail within 2 days, and then how many days it takes to get to you depends on where you are and what speed of shipping you picked. Just keep in mind though that we're sold out of the samplers now. So if you want the sampler specifically, you're gonna have to wait until the next order comes in January. If you already made a purchase and you have shipping questions, you can email tfriendsupport@jessesteahouse.com. So very excited to have some of this roasted oolong today from our nice little packet. And I'm gonna do this first steep at 90, which is a little hot, but that's where the water is at right now and I don't feel like cooling it down. The first steep is just to give us a washout anyway. Just do a very short wash. With these loose leaves, anything like loose like this, it's not densely packed. You can just do a short wash because, especially for oolong, a lot of people don't wash oolongs at all just because you don't get a bajillion steeps. But I like giving it a wash. I still think the first steep is a little bit much. Give our tea pets some of this good stuff. And But you can smell the fragrance. It's very roasty stuff. Cheers. I got lots of questions, by the way. If I miss your question, please just repost it because a lot of times I'm just missing questions left, right, and center. Question, what's the best commercial tea bag company to choose from? It's really hard because like the tea bag is bad technology. So like almost by definition, like so in China where they have really good tea, nobody drinks from tea bags. So if you're drinking from a tea bag, it means that it's already one, a mass market product and two, intended for Western drinkers, both of which are going to make it like not good tea. To be fair, I moved away from the States when I was 21 and I lived in China for 10 years and that's where I got into tea. And then I moved back when I was like 30 or something like that when COVID hit. So I spent a long time in China drinking good tea and now that I'm back in America and have the good tea, I don't like go and try every tea bag brand. But the tea bag itself is like not a good way to make tea in the same way that like, I don't know anything about bread, but it's like, what's the best brand of Wonder Bread? Like it's all kind of gonna be, pale white, like, whatever spongy sort of stuff. Now that's to be said, that's for tea leaf tea. I don't know every herbal tea in the world. Maybe it doesn't matter with herbal teas, but for tea leaf tea, that's what I'm thinking. So cheers, everybody. Got a look at our really nice color on this roasted Iron Goddess. It's good to be able to. Had lunch, came back, having some tea, chilling with you guys. Fantastic. Great questions from Yugoslavian Bro. What does a milk oolong taste like? So milk oolong, it's not going to taste like milk tea, but it's called milk because it has kind of this very like creamy, rich mouthfeel. Some tea it tastes kind of like water going through. Some tea it has like thickener is the wrong word, but it tastes more like milky and smooth and kind of rich. And so that's the mouthfeel that the milk oolong really is what you're looking for. But the mouthfeel for that is like really nice. Cheers over here. Lots of tea questions over here. I've got YouTube here, TikTok here, and Instagram here. So if I'm answering questions you don't see in the chat, let me know. Yozuna says, Jesse, you're the man. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Cheers. You get a tea pet pour for that. We'll give the tea pets a little bit of loving for you. Thank you so much. Questions over here. Do you have, Mosey said, are there any Chinese teas that have fruity or sweet floral flavors? Yes, there are. So a thing to know about tea is that a lot of the teas in the Western market, when they have fruity or floral flavors, actually what's happening is they take lower quality tea and they spray like scented oil on it. And the result is if you go to a tea store or you're at a farmer's market or whatever and you smell the tea, it'll be, whoa, that smells so amazingly fruity, floral. But when you steep it, all that oil just washes off. And so you might get a very intense first steep, but it's not actually like in the tea. This is as opposed to say like I have a tea on the site that's called the Meijian Floral Scent Red Tea. That's a good example of it, but like that tea hasn't been scented. It hasn't been, there's no actual fruit in it, but it has this really amazing floral fruity scent and smell that comes out of it. And even in the flavor, a lot of times you'll get that kind of that flavor. I find the other tea that's really good is we have a tea on the website. It's called the 1,000-Year Tree Red Tea. These are the really high quality teas that I brought back from the tea mountains in Yunnan in June when I went to go do that visit. And what you find with those teas is that they just have this really like juicy fruit, almost like fruit juice taste to them, which is like a wacky thing to say for tea, but it just has that like natural fruit flavor in it. So for the tea people who are like, in China, really into the tea scene, trying to get the best tea they have, for those people, they really like to have, they're not looking for anything to be added. They want that to be in the tea leaf just because of the way it was grown, the way it was picked, the way it was processed. And again, sort of in seeking with keeping the tea essence as pure as possible. And if you've got to add a lot of stuff to something to make it the way you want, it's kind of like, I don't want to go too deep on it, but it's not very Taoist. It's not very like, it's like, if you wanted X, find X. If you want X, don't create X by mixing a worse version of X with Y and Z, so to speak. It kind of, I think it feels more in the tea aesthetic to be looking for the tea that way. So that was kind of a random long answer to that question, but hopefully that was of use to you guys. Very, very cool. Questions, Adam Greenhouse says, what's everybody drinking right now? That's a good question. What are you guys drinking? If you guys are drinking any tea, put it in the chat. I'm drinking the roasted Tieguanyin, which means Iron Goddess, the roasted Iron Goddess of Mercy Oolong, which is a badass name. Named after the Bodhisattva Guanyin, also known as Avalokiteshvara in India or Kannon in Japan. These are the sort of random things you learn when you do an East Asian Studies major. Cheers. Question, Andy, what tea do you have that's good before bed with no caffeine? Great question. So we're gonna be launching an herbal and flower tea line in the winter, maybe as early as late January, maybe early February, probably around Chinese New Year. My goal is to try to have it available by Chinese New Year. And that's kind of, if you want no caffeine, you need herbal or flower tea. So most of the teas, in fact, all of the teas on my site right now are tea leaf tea, comes from Camellia sinensis. That plant has caffeine in it. So if you want no caffeine at all, you have to do an herbal or flower tea. I don't have any of that available right now. It's also harder to find really good quality of that, I find, but it's like, you know, the general stuff is not bad. I'm also really not an expert in herbal or flower tea, unfortunately. But another option, if you just want less caffeine, is you can do 2 wash steeps instead of 1, because you'll get some extra caffeine out in that wash. So, cheers. Question from user something, is the tea resin back in stock? Yes, it is, at least for a little while longer. I got a notice from the warehouse today that we're running low on it, so I would get it sooner rather than later if you want it. We have lots of questions over here on YouTube. I'm sorry, guys, get some more of those. Jake says, I'm also drinking some roasted Tieguanyin. Cheers. Way Better says, drinking green tea today. Excellent. Sherm Goblin was drinking the Langhe Show last night. Enjoy that stuff because it's sold out. I'm never getting any more of it. Sometimes you run out of teas. A lot of these teas, they're very like small batch. Even in China, like, you know, they're like, my tea guys will find these teas and recommend them to me. And then a lot of times I'm like, hey, people like them. Can I get more? And they're like, no, we're out. Like, we're never getting any again, especially the aged stuff. The Langhe was from 2005. So when that stuff's gone, it's gone, unfortunately. Very fun. We'll have KJ the B says, when will the thick tiger teacups come back? I think we're getting a new shipment in on the 27th of December. Good questions over here. Lots of great questions. Does the area, we have a question from Eggman, does the area or region they grow the tea and affect the flavor similar to wine? Yes, it does. So for tea people in the West have actually started using like wine terms, like they have, I think it's called terroir, the Terroir, it's a French term, terroir. And that's all of those things bundled together. The place it's from, the weather, that sort of like temperature region. I mean, in China, it can even get even more specific than that. Like, people will look at the different faces of the different mountains because they'll have different wind and rain patterns and different moisture to be on one face of the mountain versus another. And that's why a lot of people are always trying different types of teas. And it's why, you know, for me, it's like, I can find a version of any type of tea that's out there on the market. But when I pick the stuff that I like for my shop, you know, I might try 5 or 10 or 15 raw pu'ers before I'm like, that's the one I really like. And when I say that's the one I really like, a lot of it has to do with where it was grown. Even if I don't know specifically which face of the mountain it's from, I don't usually get down to that level. But I know the general areas and the main tea mountains in China. And if a tea is coming from outside of that area, it doesn't mean it's bad, but I'm definitely looking for like, what's going to be special about this tea that's going to make me really want to get at it. There, very nice. Also, the altitude makes a difference. It's generally considered that better tea comes from high altitude, and that has to do with the changes that happen to the plant as it's growing. Very, very cool. Questions over here. TikToker says, do you measure your tea in grams before steeping it? There's a couple reasons. I don't usually measure, but there's a couple reasons why. One, sometimes I get tea from these. These are 5-gram bags. So when we ordered the bags, we said put 5 grams in here, so that's a 5-gram session. 5 to 7 grams is usually the best amount of tea to use for this size lidded cup. This is a 120 milliliter. It's about 4-ounce cup. But the other reason that I don't measure is because tea is kind of half art and half science. I've kind of like, I don't do a lot of coffee, but I've noticed from the coffee people that there's definitely like it has to be exactly this many grams, and it has to be ground in this specific way. And in my experience with tea, it's like if I put 4 grams in here, I just steep it a bit longer. You know, if I put 3 grams in there, I'd have to steep it much longer, and I probably wouldn't get many steeps out of it. But there are ways of adjusting based off of how much tea you put in. So even if you put in 4.5 grams one time and 6.7 grams another time, you just kind of adjust based off of how you feel the tea is coming out. If you're steeping it and you're like, ooh, that's strong, back off the steep time or back off the temperature a little bit. And you can see kind of the results that you get from that. I am going to, hold on. Give me half a moment to refill my water because I overboiled my water. The water's too hot. I'm still here. Don't leave, people. All right, I just got a little, I'm back. So, this is little cheat technique. This tea I want to steep at 90 Celsius or 85, and I accidentally hit the boil button and put it up to 100. I'm just gonna mix some cold water in with the hot water and then reboil it up to where I need it. So luckily I have a temperature control kettle, get to me to 85 pretty quickly. Bam, let's do another question. And by the way, I apologize if I am missing your questions, please just do repost them. A lot of other stuff. Questions, Savannah Bartlett says, I got the dragon tea pet from your site a while ago and love him. Thank you so much. His name is Liam and he is the best tea pet. Thank you so much, he's the best boy. We got, where's my dragon? He's not within reach. He's all the way over there in the kitchen. So I'm sorry, I don't have my dragon next to me, but the dragons are great. And we have lots of new dragon stuff that's going to be dropping for Chinese New Year. So no spoilers yet, but I have a new Gaiwan tea set, a full set, including the individual pieces that are going to be available, and also some artwork, which I will share with you guys as we do our big launch for the tea stuff. Very interesting artwork. That'll be fun. Questions from Jason Wong says, are all your teas sourced only from a small region? It depends on the tea. So some of the teas I have, like the Master Box series, like that's all from one farm, from one mountain. Sister Ai, who's our tea farmer there, she gets the tea, she collects it, she makes some of it into white tea, some of it into red, some into pu'er. Every year she'll do a little bit of a different thing. That's very specifically regional in Yunnan. But then we also sell teas that are from Fujian province. We sell teas from Hangzhou area. We sell teas from Guangxi. We have teas from Taiwan. We have teas from all different types of places that are on the site. So as things have gotten like a little bit bigger, I've been able to do stuff like go work specifically with one farmer, one mountain. Maybe next time I go to that mountain, I'm gonna do a single tree tea, which are really cool. These are relatively recently, they've started like collecting all the leaves from one specific tree and pressing those into cakes. And so they have a very distinct personality. Like each tree will have a different personality than if you try the tree next to it, which is really cool. So like usually though, we're not down to that level of granularity. And a lot of times what will happen in the tea industry is that there'll be, there are obviously farmers, but then there'll be some local wholesalers. So imagine somebody who lives in the tea village and they may have tea themselves, they may have tea trees, but they may also just collect other people's teas and get all the similar types of teas. Oh, you have a Iron Goddess, you have an Iron Goddess, you have an Iron Goddess, and they'd mix them together. Sometimes the tea farmers will sell the leaves unprocessed to a middleman processor, and the processor knows how to make those teas really good and how to roll them, how to dry them, how to roast them, and then that middle person will wind up putting the tea out under their own brand or wholesaling it. So it really depends on how you do it, how local you want it to be. Generally speaking, there are many ways to do it right, every step needs to be done well. So like it doesn't do me any good to have a fantastic tea farmer who's really bad at processing their leaves and you know, messes up their leaves. Similarly, it's no point of having a processor with great equipment and great knowledge and then they're buying cheap, bad tea leaves that are like poorly done or machine picked. So every step kind of needs to go right, and by the time that I taste it, if every step has gone right, then I'll be able to tell like, this is fun. Great question. So cheers, everybody. Cheers. Get some of that good color. Let me show you that. You got the good color. Well, dripping here. Very nice color on the roasted Iron Goddess here. Cheers. Adam Ramirez says, with the influx of traffic, are you looking to grow your team at all? We actually are. I haven't been posting about it because the job listings right now are all in China. But if you're in China and you're a fluent Chinese language speaker and you want to help us do shipment coordination of whenever we need to restock, be able to say, you know, we need 1,000 bags of this, go to the packager, buy 1,000 bags, send the bags to the tea people, have them pack it. If you can coordinate with all that stuff and get the stuff over to the US, we are looking for somebody right there. We're also potentially looking for somebody to do email and SMS management, but that's a little bit harder to figure out because we have tons and tons of people that message us about that. And there are probably some professional options that are better than just hiring a random person. But if you're an experienced SMS marketer, I suppose, let me know. But we are hoping to grow. I think the main thing is like, the main challenge is actually mostly in China because it's just so far away from me here. If I were in China, that part of the business would run better, but then the stuff here would start to slip a little bit. But because I'm here in the States, it makes it a little bit easier to keep up on the US part of things. And so that being said, like I'm very excited about the increase in the traffic, especially our friends on YouTube will know, you know, 90 days ago, we had 5,000 followers on YouTube and now we have 80. So it's like, we've had some very quick growth on YouTube specifically. And so it's, and if you're on the other platforms, if you're on Instagram, if you're on TikTok, follow the YouTube, because like just yesterday, I dropped a 16-minute video on teaism, going for tea 101, a big video that goes into a lot more depth that I can't do on the short platforms. And so that sort of stuff is coming out only on the YouTube. So definitely go and check that out if you're from Instagram or TikTok, or if you're a YouTube listener that hasn't checked out the long videos yet, you only see the shorts. The long videos, we spend way more time on them and they get like no views compared to the shorts. But in the end, I think it's, you know, gotta keep getting better. That's the goal. So cheers, everybody. Jesse Jacob asks, what do you recommend for cleaning cups if you are serving in the public? Great question. So at home, we have these tea towels, and in fact, my tea sets now will come with Jesse's Tea House tea towels. I need to get one of them for my own. Like we have them that we're already sending to customers, and I don't have one. This can be useful if you want to clean out a cup or something like that. The problem with these is that if you use them a lot, sometimes after cleaning them, they're going to have a residual towel flavor on them. So you do have to also have some extra water to rinse out the cup. I just love how these glass cups look. But yeah, check out the color between the water and the tea. Like you can see how it's almost like you can see how nice the tea color looks when you look at what the water looks like. How cool is that? How cool is that? Oh my God, very cool. Cheers, everybody. Questions. Derpy Dragon teacups for New Year. We're gonna have the Dragon Tea Pet and teacup that's currently on the site, but we have some other dragon related stuff that will be hitting for Chinese New Year. Don't worry about that. Andy says, is it 5 grams of tea per person, or when would you use more tea leaves? You don't, I'd say 5 grams like this could do about 4 people. If I was maybe up to 5 or 6 people, I would use a bigger tea set and I would maybe put a little bit more leaves in. But 5 grams are gonna be pretty good to serve. I mean, you'll see, so like 5 grams makes a pitcher of tea that's, you know, this plus that. And if you're serving in small cups and you keep the thing going pretty well, you can do 3 to 4 people in this size of a set. If you're doing more than that, you might wanna have a bigger set, maybe a little bit more tea leaves. But it also depends on the size of the vessel. So if you've decided that you're gonna serve 12 people, but you're gonna use this guy one, it doesn't really do you much good to put more tea leaves in there. It's just going to make it very difficult to make the tea because your window of how long it will be before it oversteeps is going to be very short. If you have, if you put too few leaves in, then, you're never going to get any flavor. So this is part of the skill of being a good tea host, is adjusting based off of the amount of people you have, picking the right set, or if you have only one set, being able to be constantly making tea and keeping sure everybody's cup is full. Great questions over here. I live in Australia. Is there any possibility to streamline delivery direct from China rather than through the US for people not in the Americas? I'm looking at that. Australia is a hard case, unfortunately, because Australia is just so far from everywhere. Like, either I'm shipping to Australia or it's anywhere else in the world. Shipping directly from China is a little bit problematic for the tea because there are regulations that don't allow you to just send like a bag of tea to people in other countries without having gone through customs. So there are a lot of tea sites online that'll do it. I don't want to do that because sooner or later I could get in legal trouble, or customers' packages might just never show up. Amazon dealers don't worry about this. Amazon dealers just send it, and if you never get it, oops. But I am looking into that. I'm also looking into getting a warehouse in Europe for the next year, because I know we have a lot of European watchers, and I bet we would sell even more in Europe if the shipping wasn't so expensive and took so long. But that's something that I hope we'll be able to have online maybe by the end of 2024. I know it's like a long way away, but this sort of stuff takes a long time. I'm probably gonna have to set up a company in the EU and all that sort of stuff. So all of this comes to say it's frustrating for me because I know that, and it's frustrating for you because I know that the shipping prices are so high. But it's like it's always that chicken and egg problem. Like, if I solved the shipping problem and had a warehouse in Australia or something like that, then maybe it would we would have many more customers in Australia. But right now, it's like we only get so many orders from Australia, but that's because the shipping's so expensive. So it's hard to tell. But I am aware of that, and I'm sorry that it is expensive. If you pick the slowest shipping option, sometimes it's not that bad. Or if you find 2 or 3 friends that all want stuff at the same time, a lot of them are like flat rate boxes. So like, once you have a box full of stuff that's already going to Australia, then adding extra stuff into the box doesn't cost that much. Cheers. Lots of great questions. Questions over here. Dad on TikTok says, a few years ago, a bunch of tea being shipped from China, different sites started going missing. Yeah, because it's not allowed. You're not allowed to do that. It's like, even our samples, like, we try to get samples. Like, I'm not going to do anything commercial that might be sketchy, but like, I need tea samples in order to try stuff. And so like, sometimes we have to go and do like custom stuff to send 3 kilograms of tea samples or whatever over. It's really annoying. In the beginning of a lot of small companies, they may not worry about that sort of stuff, but like, I didn't want to do anything that was going to work when we're sending out 3 packages a day, but like not actually be able to deal with like a real thing. So that's part of the reason that I've said that. So questions over here, if anybody has any other questions. Lots of questions I missed, I know. Questions over here from Draza says, what would, oh crap, it went so fast. Draza, I missed your thing. Now I have another one. Teabanger said, if you ran out of tea and couldn't wait for shipping, what tea would you buy locally? I've always just had such a monstrous amount of tea around. I've never, I don't know, since 2010, I've just always had so much tea around the house that it has never needed to be anything where I buy locally. Because even in Beijing, if I didn't have tea, I would either go to the tea market or I would call my tea guy and I would ask him to send it to my house, just by local mail. But everywhere I went in China, if there was a tea area, I would be buying tea there. And then I have tea that from the market, I have tea that is given to me as gifts. I just have never been in a position of needing to buy tea locally. The truth is that the best place to buy tea outside of China is the internet. And I know that it's there are in some very minute places in the country, a dozen or so legit tea houses in the States. And if you live within a couple minutes drive of one of those, great. For everybody else, it's going to be, you'll get better tea on the internet. And even if you have a really good local tea house, their price point might not be what you want, or they might have some teas but not others, or some of their teas are better than others. Like, you know, it's always a mix of finding what you like. And so the one downside I really have about the internet is it's hard to do samples, but that's hopefully what the sampler is for. So AT sampler. These are going to be back in stock in June. You guys sold us all out, but they come with many different teas in them: tea balls, tea oranges, tea bricks, and then with all of the info cards, 8 tea info cards that come with it. And so, like, this is my way of being able to get everybody samples. I'll give you 10 to 15 grams of each of them, and then that way it actually economically can work out, though, if you get 8 samples at once. So. And then maybe some people rebuy those, or maybe people want to try different teas. So it's definitely, it's a thing. Yeah, he's a tea slinger. He's never out. You know, you gotta believe it. You gotta believe it, man. I don't run out of tea. I almost had a little crisis during COVID when, as I came to America in January of 2020 and COVID hit in midair. So I did not leave China because of COVID. I landed to find out that the rumors were real and I could not go back. And so I had brought like 3 months worth of tea with me because I'm a madman and I was going to be there for 9 days. I brought 3 months of tea, but eventually I was running out of tea. So, and during COVID, the shipping crisis was really bad, but I managed to find a cache of tea that I had brought back from the Beijing tea market in like 2017 or something like that. And then I left at my dad's house. And so some of it was gifts for other people that I just drank myself now because it was an emergency. And some of it was just stuff I was buying for myself. And some of it was tea that I kind of had a vague idea that maybe I could put a tea sampler together and start doing some market research and testing for my friends, which people like which teas. But check that out. Oh yeah, very nice. Cheers, everybody. But yeah, the internet's a great place to buy tea because the nature of this sort of thing is that even if you have a local tea shop, it wasn't grown there. Somebody bought it from China or India or wherever and sent it in the mail. So it's not like, you know, vegetables that grew in the ground right next to where you are and you can buy them from the farmers. Even if you have a local tea shop, they bought it from a tea farmer in the same way I bought it from a tea farmer. You want to eliminate as many middlemen as you can. And so, like, going to your local tea shop is a great idea. If they get it straight from the farmer, they've cut out a lot of middlemen. But also, like, I get it straight from the farmer. If I send it to you, I've cut out a lot of middlemen. And so the goal is kind of to get as close. Generally, you want to get as close to the tea as possible, not just because it gets you better tea, but it's usually better tea at a given price point. Because if there's 4, 5, 6 middlemen involved, if you have to send your tea from an Indian tea farm to Lipton headquarters, and Lipton headquarters repackages it and sells it to a supermarket, and the supermarket has, there are a lot of people that are in the way of you and your tea. And so if you think tea bags are cheap, imagine how cheap that tea is to buy. By the time it's been eaten up by 8 middlemen, it's still that cheap. It's some pretty low quality stuff. Questions. Over here, we got lots of questions. I'm sorry. Wilbur says, are stems in cooked pu'er tea normal? There are some cooked pu'er teas that they'll have a certain amount of stems in them because it apparently helps the piling process. I've heard that before. But you don't want like all stems. Cooked pu'er is a little bit different also because the quality of the leaves that you need to make good cooked pu'er is not quite as high as the raw pu'er. So sometimes even higher quality cooked pu'er tea will be made with less premium leaves than the raw pu'er because the raw pu'er is just so valuable. But if you're tasting stems and you got like woody notes in there that you don't like, then I would not like that. Questions over here. Mr. Lee says, what's the best way to over here on Instagram store your tea cakes? I keep them in the original paper. You can see I got a couple of them up there on the back. I have more kind of behind my chair over here. I don't know if you can see these little like bamboo things are full of tea cakes as well. I keep it in the original paper, and you want to keep it in a place where it will have access to air. So it's like it's not going to be like, you know, in a plastic bag, like, you know, completely cut off from air. That's going to stop the oxidation. Also, you don't want it to be like blasted by sunlight, even if it is in the paper. It's best not to have it like literally in a window, like right here. And then the big thing is keep it away from any other strong scents. So like, you know, don't put it in your spice cabinet. Don't put it next to, you know, some other really smoky whatever, or like some dried meats or whatever. I don't know. Like, keep it separate. I keep my tea with other tea. Like, I don't think you need to have each of them in a hermetic chamber or anything like that. But like, you know, the idea is that you want to be able to have the tea kind of not getting infused by other scents. So very, very cool. Questions over here. Lemart Nunendenoins says, I recently brought some pu'er and a huge amount of color came out. That should not be the case, I get. I'm not sure. It depends which type of pu'er you got. When you say a huge amount of color came out, like the tea was very colorful, or I don't know. I think I need to get going, unfortunately, because it's 2. I set up my live stream a little bit late. I was gonna hopefully stream with everybody for an hour, but I have to get going at 2 because I have a meeting. But I'm gonna have one last cup over here with you guys. And again, thank you all to those who have been purchasing tea stuff during the holiday season. It's like a big deal. It really allows me to do all this. If you guys need presents, if you guys are looking for presents for yourself, or you just want to really get into tea, everything that you see here is up on the website. The teas, the tea equipment, the tea pets, they're all up on the website. And jessieteahouse.com. Let me know if anybody has any questions or anything. Like, go and put comments on the videos. It's a lot of the ways that I get my ideas for videos, is I'll scan through the recent comments and see if anybody's asking anything fun. So if you guys are indeed interested in learning anything about tea, let me know. And yeah, I'm just very glad to be able to spend a Saturday with you guys and having some tea, even though if it was a short session. And cheers. We'll have a good time. Awesome. Thank you again so much. Have a good one. Call it there. Bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye. Log off. And now, goodbye. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, everybody.